Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Unit 3 project. So, we are going to create name art. You are going to try your hand at developing your own artistry using function transformations. Desmo is our canvas once again, and then you're going to study the math behind what we're creating. So the instructions are below. Please click here to read the rubric. Read both the instructions and the rubric carefully so that you get all your points. At the end, you want to turn in your original design, your mathematical description, and your reflective narrative. So here's the suggested pacing that we're going to follow. And then here are the instructions down here below. So like I said, there are 7 questions down here. You want to make sure you read all of those to make sure you are not only answering the questions, but turning in everything that you need. Okay. All right. So let's jump right into step one. All right. Step one and two. First, we are this basically in step one and two, we go ahead and plan out how we're going to use the functions to write our name. So you're going to draw your name on a digital or hard copy graph paper. So I have both linked here. You can choose which one you're going to use, either the hard copy. So if you have a printer, you can print that out, or you can use the digital graph paper. This is going to force copy you to make the copy, and then it will provide you with graph paper so that you can make your digital name on the graph paper. All right. So it's important to ensure your name uses a minimum of 4 types of curves modeled by a rational function, a radical function, and 2 of any other types of functions. So a linear, quadratic, or an exponential. Let's take a moment to see what those functions look like. So here we have the parent functions of the graphs that we were talking about. Actually, I just gave you all of the parent functions that you will ever study in your high school career of math for sure. So I want to go ahead and point out which ones we're looking at. So the first one is the radical function. So let's say we use red for radical functions. Then all the functions that are radicals have red. And so you can see the behavior of the radical function here, what that graph looks like. That will get your mind going about what letter could possibly use that function. Okay, I think for my name, I might can use that for probably the N. No, 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 not the N, but the E. I could probably use it for the E more than likely. I could probably use it for the E. So my radical function. Now, for the because my name is Kenya, so I'm thinking about my name, Kenya, and what functions I can use for my name. So, next, the rational function. Let's say we make the rational functions pink. If we make the rational functions pink, right? And let's look for the rational function on here. Here goes the rational function down here. And look at the behavior of that rational function. Look what it looked like. Hmm. So I wonder what we can probably use that for. I think I can use it for the E as well on my name. I think I can use that for the E. So that, this could be the middle part of the E. This could be the bottom part of the E. That's what I'm thinking. Okay. All right. Next, let's look at, so remember you can choose 2 other types of function. So one of these 3. So we have quadratic, linear, or exponential. You can choose one of these 3, 2 of these 3 right here. Because it's got to be 2 different types. So let's say I decided to do a quadratic function. All right. And let's say I'm going to make my quadratic function blue. I can use this for my Y, right? That looks like a good way to create the Y. Now we have linear function. So the linear function looks like I can use, let's say green for it. Let's say I use green for linear function. So this is linear function, and I can use that for the Y, I can use that for the K, I can use that for part of the N. Like there's a lot of things I could use it for. Even the quadratic, I could probably use it for the upward part of my N, or even the K, how it curves up. I can use that for that. So and I would just have to figure out how I'm going to use it. But I can see my functions in my name. And so that's how I make my decision about which functions I'm going to use. Now, if I want to go for the extra credit, then I can choose one of these functions down here, right? And a good one to might be able to choose as for extra credit would be, say, maybe the absolute value function. Maybe that would be in orange. And here's the reason why I say that. Let's go look at the absolute value function. The absolute value function is this one right here. Wouldn't that make a good Y? Okay, so that's the reason why I say probably it's a good make a good little extra credit if you would like to use that one. So, like I was saying, for extra credit, you may also include additional functions such as absolute value, cubic, cube root, and logarithmic functions. Your functions may not be the parent function, so your graph must include the functions that show each of the kinds of transformations we talked about. So their functions got to show a vertical shift, a horizontal shift, a vertical compression, a vertical stretch, a reflection of X or Y. Any combination of those transformations, your functions must include one or more. So after you do that, you are going to label your curves to ensure you have one of each, like the color that we were talking about before. So remember, your radical functions all need to be red, your rational functions all need to be green, so on and so forth. So now it's time to get started. I am choosing a digital graph paper. So I am going to click here and force copy my Jamboard to create my name. As you can see, I'm giving you graph paper on a Jamboard so that you can create your name. Here's a pen that you can use. If you have a Chromebook, it gives you a lot more options to be able to do it. Now, if you're going to be using your mouse to make the drawings, you definitely want to take your time. Do not rush it because it is kind of hard to write on screen without a stylus or something. So just take your time. All right. So literally, if I'm using my mouse, I'm not going to rush. I'm just going to take my time and draw my line. Okay. That's all you can do. Just take your time and draw your line. All right. So let's try it again. Just take your time. You don't have to rush it. Right. I said I might want to use a parabola for that. And I might want to use a parabola for that. And I'm going to use a vertical line for that. And I'm going to go back through and change the colors. Okay. I said that I would probably use a radical for the E, right? And I'm not quite sure what I would use for the top part, but I know I can use the hyperbola for the bottom part of the E, possibly right there. And then for the N, I'm going to use a vertical line and then maybe a parabola for this part. All right, so far I got a quadratic, right? I got a radical and I got a hyperbola and I got a vertical line. So I really just got all four of my lines just now. Okay, I'm probably going to use a parabola for that and then another parabola for that. And then for A, um, I don't know what I'm going to use for that yet. I'm going to have to figure that out. I don't know. The A is going to be kind of hard. I think what I might do is I might instead use the absolute value for that, right? Because absolute value looks like that V shape, right? Absolute value looks like that V. So maybe my A will come down like this, right? And then I'll use a vertical line like this. Okay, so hold on. Let's create a key. All right. So for my radical functions, I think I'm going to use red, right, for radical. Okay. For my rational functions, I can use blue, right? For my quadratics functions, I can use green. And then for my linear functions, I can probably use orange. Right? And then we did say the extra credit, right? I was going to use extra credit. So for the extra credit for the absolute value, I would just use black. There goes my key. Okay. Of course, you need to be you can be way neater than I am right now with this. Okay. So my vertical lines, right? So my linear equations are orange. So let me go ahead and mark those. So orange, right? That's definitely orange, orange. Okay, orange. Okay, there goes my equations there. My quadratics are going to be green. My quadratics are going to be green. So quadratic, quadratic, right? Could be a quadratic. This could be a quadratic. This could be a quadratic too. Okay. And then my absolute value is just going to be, no, let's do the radical first. Radical, I said I was going to do this one right here. That's going to be the E right there. And then the hyperbola, which is the rational function. That's going to be this part right here. Okay. And then, so how would I do the top part? The top part looks like I can maybe use a parabola. So I'm going to use a parabola for this part. Yeah, like that. Okay. And then my absolute value function is black. So, and I already have it as black. It's already black. Okay. All right. Now, here's the only thing I need to do now. I need to go ahead and put my coordinate plane on this. So I need to draw a line that represents my coordinate plane. You can use all positive values or you can use negative and positive values. It really doesn't matter. So if you want to put it all in the first quadrant, you can. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. So I am going to put mine like I'm gonna at least put one letter in another quadrant. So this is going to be my y-axis here. And this is going to be my x-axis here. Voila. Okay. So let's recap. In step one, you were to come up with 4 functions, make a plan for your name. So come up with 4 functions that you were going to use, a rational, a radical, and 2 of any other type. So I decided to use a radical, a rational, And my two other types were quadratic and linear, but I also decided to go for the extra credit and use the absolute value function. So each of my graphs cannot be the parent function. So when you look here, none of them are because then neither one of them are at the origin. None of these lines are at the origin. So that means none of them are going to be related to the parent function in that way. So these functions are all shifts. And that's because, again, they're not at the origin. So there's a vertical shift, there's a horizontal shift. There are other types of shifts going on here, and we'll be able to calculate those in a moment. Now, the labeling of your graph, the different colors. So I chose to label my radical red, my rational blue, my quadratics green, my linear orange, and the absolute value black. So we labeled our graph. Okay. And now you are ready to save your picture, take a picture of your work, and submit it. So the video that we're recording will go right here. So let's go ahead, and since we're using a digital graph paper, we're going to follow the directions here. It says save your frame as an image and then submit it. So I'm going to come over here to Jamboard. I'm going to go up here to the three dots, and I'm going to save my image as a frame, save my frame, and it downloads, and I'm going to submit that picture. Okay. All right. And you are finished with part 1 and 2.